Hi. So this is part 2 of company law share capital. Today we're going to learn about prospectus, right? So in the last class we have learned about types of share capital and as well as types of shares, preference shares, equity shares, and how does the company issue shares. If it is a public company, then it will issue public offer. We will call it as public offer through IPO. Generally we'll call it as IPO, right? Initial public offer. If it is a private company, it will issue the securities by private placement. First we will discuss about IPO. How does public company will issue shares, right? So it will issue securities. Public company issue securities as we discussed by public offer. By issuing prospectus. Prospectus is nothing but company is inviting the public to subscribe its shares, right? So that is prospectus. Prospectus contains everything about the company. It contains the financial details and how much share capital they are raising, what is the share value, how many shares they are issuing, what kind of business they are carry forwarding, or what kind of market position they have, who are their competitors. Everything about the company will be there in the prospectus, right? So the prospectus we can classify mainly into two types or three types. Yeah, so we can say it can be classified into three types. One is shelf prospectus. Shelf prospectus. See, preparing prospectus is very time taking, right? Everything about the company should be listed in the prospectus, and this prospectus has to be prepared according to the SEBI guidelines, and the prospectus has to be sent to the SEBI. After reviewing of SEBI, then they will SEBI, after approving, then only they can issue to the public. They can issue to the prospectus to the public. So first company has to submit a draft to the SEBI. If the SEBI approves that prospectus, then only it is allowed to issue prospectus to the public. So it will take time, right? So let's just say if the company is raising the money 4 times in a year, it is not possible for the company to prepare prospectus every time, right? So that's why it will prepare self prospectus. So what is this self prospectus? So self prospectus usually have 1 year validity. So it has 1 year validity. So you need to prepare the self prospectus for the first time. While you are issuing the shares to the public, if you prepare the self prospectus for the first time, then it is valid for the 1 year. That means if you are raising the money in the second time, then you don't need to prepare the prospectus again. You can just issue the same prospectus, right? But this is valid only for the 1 year, right? When does that validity starts? For example, let's just say January 30, 2020, the first issue started. That means the validity will start from this date. So from this date to January 30, 2021. During this date, if the company issue any securities, then the company need not to issue a fresh prospectus again. The company can issue the same prospectus because it has a 1 year validity. validity starts from the date of the first issue of securities, right? Yeah. So, but what if there is any changes during this 1 year? What if there is any changes? So that's why they will prepare something called as information memorandum. Information memorandum. In this information memorandum, it contains the details if there is any changes during the year. Let's just say the company issued a debentures, right? You know something, there is something called as secured debentures. That means they will create a charges on the assets. Let's just say there is a company ABC Limited and it has a land. On the land, charge has been created. That means land will act as a security for issuing the debentures. So charges means nothing but as a collateral security, right? So if there is any security given, like if there is, while to raise a loan, you might have given some security, right? So that means charge is created. During the year, if you created any charges, that will be mentioned here, right? In this information memorandum, like if there is any new charges created on your assets, that will be mentioned. And also if there is any change in your financial position of the company, that should be mentioned in the information memorandum. Okay, so we will sum up the self prospectus. So self prospectus can be used for one or more issues, right? So issued for subscription in one or more issues over a certain period. And so simply we can say that it is a single prospectus for multiple public issues, right? And it should be prepared according to the SEBI regulations. Prepared according to the SEBI regulations. And the validity will be should not exceeding 1 year, right? And the validity period starts from the date of opening of the first offer of securities. So if you are offering the securities in Jan 30, 2020, that means from this date to next year 2020 Jan 30. Until this date, your self prospectus is valid. And if there is any changes during the year, you need to issue something called as information memorandum. Along with the self prospectus, you need to issue information memorandum. In this information memorandum, if there is any charges created during the year, that should be mentioned. And also if there is any change in the financial position, that should be mentioned, or any other changes as may be prescribed, right? So this should be mentioned in this information memorandum. So information memorandum should be issued while issuing the self prospectus, right? Okay. Now, so this self prospectus should be prepared in the form of PAS2, and it should be filed with the register along with the fees provided in the Companies Act. So that's all about the self prospectus. Now let's go to red herring prospectus. So in the red herring prospectus, complete information will not be there. So in this one, it does not include any complete particulars of the quantum or price of the included therein. So it contains about the information about your company, what kind of business you are doing, but it does not contain so how much, like how many shares you are issuing and what price you are issuing. Let's just say it wants 2000 crores. The company wants 2000 crores. But whereas in this every detail will be there, but in this one it wants 2000 crores, that's it. That how much capital it want to raise, that will be mentioned, but it does not mention how many shares they are issuing, at what price they are issuing, right? It just simply says how much money they want. So it does not contain the complete information. Why they do that? Let's just say the company is not sure what is the potential of that company. Let's just say there is a ABC Limited ABC Limited want 2000 crores, but it is not sure how much price it has to keep. So that's why first they will issue a red herring prospectus based on the demand of public, the price will be fixed, like based on the book building route. So this book building route will be discussed in the capital markets. So right now, so we can say that so company is not sure about the price they want to fix. So that's why first it will issue the red herring prospectus, and then based on the demand of the public, it will fix the price and everything, right? Okay. So simply, red herring prospectus does not contain the full information about the company. It does not contain the number of shares and the price of the shares. And the red herring prospectus shall be filed with the registers and SEBI. Before issuing to the public, you need to file that red herring prospectus with the SEBI and register. Okay. Now, and also this is important, you should file the register. You should file the prospectus with the register at least 3 days prior to the opening of the subscription list on the offer. Alright. So let's discuss about the abridged prospectus. So, see, prospectus is it contains the vast information about the company. So it's not possible for anyone to read all the information in the included in the prospectus. So that's why while you are buying the share application form, they will give abridged prospectus. It contains only salient features, that means only summarized. So we can say that this is the summary of prospectus. It contains only the important issues. It contains only important features of the company will be there in the abridged prospectus. This will be issued while issuing the application form for the purchase of the securities. So this section specifically says that no form of application for the purchase of any security of a company shall be issued unless such form is accompanied with abridged prospectus. So you cannot issue any share application form to buy the securities unless it contains in abridged prospectus. So you should issue the share application form to buy the securities along with this abridged prospectus. And this abridged prospectus shall not be, you cannot issue. It is not, just a minute. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. You don't need to issue this abridged prospectus in two scenarios. One, if it is an underwriting an agreement. I hope you know what is meant by underwriting agreement. So, for those who don't know about the abridged prospectus, let's just say there is a ABC Limited. Sorry. ABC Limited. So if the company is going to the public for the first time, so it is not sure whether the public will subscribe or not. So there should be something called as minimum subscription. According to the SEBI's regulations, if the company does not meet the minimum subscription requirement, then the company IPO will be cancelled. The company has to refund the entire money to the public, right? In order to avoid that, what the company will do, company will enter an agreement with the underwriter. Let's just say minimum subscription is 90% and the public subscribed 80%, right? And then remaining 10% is the shortfall that will be subscribed by the underwriter. that he will promise that he will subscribe the unsubscribed shares by the public. So he will cover the shortfall. He will promise that he will cover the shortfall. So for that the company has to pay underwriting commission to him. So if there is any agreement for that, then you don't need to issue the abridged prospectus. That is one scenario. And another scenario is in relation to the securities which were not offered to the public. So if the securities are not offered to the public, then you don't need to issue the abridged prospectus. So to sum up, prospectus, so far we have learned three types: red herring prospectus, shelf prospectus, and then abridged prospectus. Red herring prospectus does not contain the full information like share price and number of shares, and shelf prospectus is a single prospectus which can be used for multiple issues, and it contains all the information. And also, while you are issuing the shelf prospectus, you need to issue information memorandum along with that. It contains new charges created, or if there is any change in financial position or such other conditions prescribed by the SEBI, and it should be filed with in the form of PAS2. It should be filed with the register along with the fees provided by the register. And abridged prospectus, it says it contains the salient features of the prospectus. Simply we can say that it is a summarization of the prospectus, and it is not required to issue when it is underwriting agreement, or it is if the company is not issuing shares to the public. See you in next class.